Let's bring in Ozzie Jurock. Speaking of success, let's bring in Ozzie Jurock right now. Ozzie, I was thinking during the week, like, if you're going to buy an investment property, it came out of a couple of questions I had. I mean, one of the key components to check out is what the vacancy rate is in the area. But then how do we do that? So let me start with a simple question. If you find out, for example, that Victoria has a very low, under 1% vacancy rate, obviously that's a tight for renters and good for people who have properties to rent. What kind of is a rule of thumb where you think that the market's really tight or the market's got lots of room in sort of in the renter's favor?
Well, generally speaking, we advise that investors shouldn't be in a market that's over 4%. But, take a look at if I own already right now and my vacancy rate is rising, and that's what you find out at the CMHC report, is probably the best ever because you get nothing like that in the United States. But every city in Canada, every community, CMHC reports in the fall what the vacancy rate is now and what it was last year, and particularly the difference between 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, and 3-bedroom. Give you an idea in Calgary, we know the overall rate is 6.3%. We go to the southeast, it was 10.8, now it's 4.5 in a 1-bedroom range. So as a buyer, I say, hey, let's go in the right direction. And as an owner, I say, hey, maybe I can raise my rent a little. On the other hand, if it was 4.5 last year and 10.8 this year, I would say, Jesus, I better kiss my cannons on those cheeks and be happy and not raise the rent. You know what I mean? So these things are really important to analyze for yourself.
Well, let's go back to, okay, so where you go to find those vacancy rates is the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation?
Yes, and I tell you, it's the best ever because, even the smallest, let's say right now you're worried about Fort St. John. Well, it was 35% vacancy rate last year. This year it's 19. You say, well, that's still very high. Yeah, but it's going the right direction, particularly now that they approved Site C Dam. And maybe then I go and look at the school enrollment or the BC stats for employment. I mean, as an investor, it behooves me. I love that word. It behooves me to do some research and a little work. That's sort of the four-letter work that people don't want to hear. But you need to do some work. And if you do, you might find, hey, I might go at the Calgary overall rate is much too high, but I go to some of the different areas and find, hey, it's actually going the right direction.
You've answered my next question, which was, it doesn't really matter what the overall vacancy rate is in sort of province, because you're not buying the province, you're buying a particular locale within the province there. So that's what it is. But basically, CMHC then covers all the major urban areas?
Yes, you can go from Vancouver, you can take Victoria, you can take Calgary, Edmonton, Toronto, and then the sub-areas in there. That's a really important part because, Mike, we know just looking at Vancouver, the difference are like day and night in terms of the kind of property they are and the kind of size of the property are. And sometimes when you see that a 1-bedroom, it seems to be the rate has gone dramatically up. Well, maybe a lot of new property was built. That means if I own one, I better be very careful as to raising the rent. And if, on the other hand, it's very low, then I can say, hey, I comfortably can buy and then put a tenant in it. So it behooves us to take a look around. Look, at Kelowna, it's almost 0%. Fort St. John is 20% on a 2-bedroom suite vacancy. There you have to really see the dramatic difference. What do you care that BC's overall rate is 1.8, right? You've got to drill down to each community and each suburb of each community.
Hey, Ozzie, you got a couple of hot properties for me to finish off?
Yep, in Surrey we got a fix and flip, 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,000 square feet. It's on a 369. It needs flooring and a renovation. The renovator thinks it will cost about $20,000 to fix. It could sell between $470 and $500. Abbotsford, 2-bedroom, 1.5 baths, fully renovated, $274,000. And in Harrison Hot Springs, we got a brand new subdivision, a lot from $279,000. So in BC, some great deals.
And you can just go to Jurock.com, Jurock.com, to click on the hot property button. Just things that Ozzie finds interesting, he brings to all of our attention there. Ozzie, you go out and have a great weekend.
You too, Mike. Thank you very much, and all the very best.